We've had an enjoyable stay in Aberystwyth. Plenty of shops, plenty to do, plenty of pubs as well. It's a very easy marina to enter and exit, as you've seen. No buoyage, one corner. The only caution I'd have is shoal ground, and high water if you came in had cured that problem. We're about 2.25 hours before high going out here now. But I want the positive bit of tide to help us towards Barmouth. Think I'll stay away from the Cardinal Mark this time, a little bit closer to the pier, and see if I can give myself a little bit more water. On the way in, with it being quite misty, I found all the transit marks hard to see, especially the most conspicuous one, like the Wellington Monument there on the top of the hill. The paint on the wall, however, I think that's quite hard to see, even when you're next to it. You won't miss the Cardinal Mark when you come in, so don't worry about that one at all. What I'd probably try and do is look for the bridge next time, knowing that the paint marks on the wall just to the right of the bridge would at least give me an indication of what to look for. Here, quick quiz question. That Cardinal Mark that's standing there, which side does the danger lay on it? I know the answer, but I bet you all do as well. Alright, this corner, this is where I was a little bit far out before, and as you can see, I've got a little bit more depth here. I've got 3.3 at the moment, but I went down to 1.5 on the way in. I wonder what this is going to go down to. As I can remember, it did start lifting a little bit here, the depth, so it's actually just on the corner here, the shallowest part, I'd say. As I make the turn, I'll check the depth and see if we're any better off. 2.6. Oh yes, at least a metre better off. Hey look, can you see those leading marks without me showing you? Not that obvious, are they? There they are. As soon as we get out, we find the wind's up, so sails up, motor off, and we're away. The wind's off the land, so we know with it being off the land, it's going to be a little bit fluky to say the least. This coast is supposed to have southwesterlies as prevailing winds, and all we seem to have had since Cornwall is easterlies and northeasterlies. Well, we're making good headway, and I've got a reef in both the main and the foresail. The sea state is mostly slight, but it has got a funny little lump in it when you're going into it. We've got a bit of positive tide. Hopefully we'll keep our speed up around the 6 knots, and it will go quite quickly. Well, Swallow seems to have settled into a little bit of a groove, and she looks like she's having a bit of fun. And with that odd bumpy wave that comes along, she's crashing her way through. We set off from here, Aberystwyth, and we're making our way up the coast to Barmouth. The wind is a northeasterly off the land, and we're sailing a north-northwest course. So that'll give us a nice close reach until we go to get round this corner, where I fear we're going to head the wind, where we'll have to rely on the iron sail. This coastline is set with headlands and valleys. Where the headlands are, the wind decreases a bit, and where the valleys are, the wind flows through them. So 1 minute you slow down where you're in a headland like this, and then when you get to the bit where the air is passing through the valley between, it speeds back up again. At this point in time, we have the airstream from a valley. That extra pressure in the sails, about 25 knots worth, is pushing us along at good speeds, over 7 knots at different points over the ground. But soon as we get to our next headland, that'll slow back down again to over 6 knots over the ground. It would be rather hard work to keep trimming the sails for the increased air and the decreased air, so we just leave them set to deal with the increased air and go a little bit slower at the other points. After all, it is pleasure and not a race. This is us slowed down behind a headland. The air's lightened up. Swallow has stood up. She's virtually vertical, but she's still punching away along. As I look back at Aberystwyth, it looks a lot clearer than when we arrived. And if I use the zoom on the camera, you can actually see that you can pull in the monument on the top for your line of transit quite easily. I dare say the Wellington Monument could be seen from many miles on a nice clear day like today. The next headland opens up to a port called Aberystwyth. Aberystwyth is a lovely place, but it's not on our list today. Barmouth's next on our list. Still on a close reach, still making good headway. Happy with the time at the moment. We've got about 2.5 hours after high water at Barmouth to be able to get in before it runs too dry for us, so there's no panic. We're still on time, still making a decent pace, and everybody's still smiling. From inside the wheelhouse, or pilot house, I'm not sure which it is, because I don't know the difference between a wheelhouse and a pilot house. But from inside, there's a different sensation from being outside. It's a bit like watching it on the telly. The air's not on the back of your neck and the spray's not in your face. That can be a godsend at sometimes, especially when you're making a cup of tea or something. But at other times when you just want to get out the weather, it lets you take part in it, but on a dry aspect and a warm aspect. But still, just because you got the comfort of being able to sail from the inside, don't mean you have to. And getting back out in the fresh air is what it's all about. But all this sunshine, sea, wind, and enjoyment and exhilaration all makes one thing. The belly rumble a little bit. Think we're going to need something to eat. Lisa! She's one step ahead of me. Scrambled egg on toast coming up. Lovely. Well, this is my view while I sit down and eat my breakfast on the last bit where we can actually sail before we head into wind into Barmouth. Barmouth's just around that headland there coming up. Well, there you go, as expected. I can't sail in now. Even Ted looks a bit disappointed. Yeah, why aren't we sailing? I was enjoying that, he says. We've got about 5 miles to motor into this now. It's a little bit lumpy and we're getting a lot of spray over the top of the deck. And Lisa says, I think I want to go and sit at the bow. I reply, I think you're going to need your wets if you're going to sit up there, girl. That's Barmouth ahead of us, all those houses and what have you. And if you notice, Barmouth falls in a valley. And we know what comes out of valleys, don't we? The wind. She's like a little girl, honestly. It's quite a clear day. And visibility stretches for miles. And although I'm on top of Pembroke Point here when I look at it, and I can see quite clearly into Barmouth, you can see much further up, probably towards Cricketh, and maybe even Pwllheli, along that coast. If you pan any further round, I'm sure you'll continuously see the whole lot. It looks like going right down the Clint Peninsula there, and it's probably at the bottom end down here. It's probably somewhere near Bardsey. I'm not sure where. Well, there's not much further to go, and with my time calculations, we're going to get there on time, so we will get in, and we will get a mooring. Swallow's been splashing in the waves that much now. The decks are like little rivers. There's water running everywhere on them. But she's kept us nice and dry in the cockpit, and the spray's always been somewhere else. Well, just about there now. That's the fairway buoy, if you can spot it. And if you can't, get your binoculars out quick. While looking out for buoyage, I can still see lobster pots popping up everywhere. And I always think there shouldn't be lobster pots where there's buoyage. That's crazy. I think there's more lobster pots than there is lobsters nowadays. Well, one final push across the bar against 25 knots of wind and we'll be in there. It's a very easy, straightforward buoyage going in. Nothing technical about this one, and I'm quite sure you could even see this one easy in the dark. Barmouth mostly lends itself to dry moorings, and there's plenty of dry moorings to take around Barmouth, but we won't be. We'll be picking a deep mooring up, and we'll be staying afloat for this one. It's a bit windy for me to try the legs for the first time, so I'll save them for another day. It don't take long to get in if you got loads of horses, does it? Well, we've picked the mooring up right in the middle, in the main stream. Don't know if it's a good idea, yeah. We've pumped the dinghy up and we're going to go ashore. Uncle Jay's over there somewhere with a seal for our water pump, shouting, "Come and get it." Well, that's all for this episode. Hope you've enjoyed the trip as much as we have to Barmouth, and I'll see you again soon. Can't wait to get ashore and find a nice real coffee.